Quick one for me. I'm going to stress this time and time again. Please, right? We are on the cusp of something huge in Great Britain. On September 13th, it's massive. Do not let us down. Do not rise to provocation. Do not drink too much. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a fun day. We've got comedians, we've got music, we've got celebration. We've got some of the best speakers in the world coming to you, the British public. The battleground has been chosen for free speech, for remigration, for all of these things. The battleground is our capital city, okay? Let us inspire the entire Western world in the fact that Britain is the country, the British public are the people who woke up. We have taken to the streets in our millions, in the right way, please. It's so important. No face coverings, none. If one of your lads turns up, mask over here, take it off him. If you can't do that, don't come. Okay, please. Families are coming, children are coming. We're going to have a beautiful celebration. When you hear the songs, the patriotic anthems we've got coming, the bands, multiple bands, 1 band, 2 band, 3 bands, singers coming from other places. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be a festival. Please don't let us down. Okay, pretty stressed, lots going on. All the logistics, all the transport, all the security, all the different guests coming from all the different countries. It's worked. I had a vision, invite the politicians from these countries. Britain becomes an epicenter for this, for freedom, for the battle for freedom. They're all bringing their own news crews. The alternative media from all these countries are coming. The world's going to be watching. Do not let us down. Do not let yourself down. Do not let your country down. The next generation will never forgive our generation for sacrificing freedom because we were weak, because we were scared of a few labels. Okay? Change the culture, change the politics. We're already doing it. Come on. September 5th. See you next Saturday. Best behaviour, everyone.
Shockwaves tore through the United Kingdom as the Supreme Court delivered a verdict that has left the nation reeling. Keir Starmer's secret EU plan, hidden in the shadows for months, has been decisively struck down, exposing a web of deception, secrecy and betrayal that has shaken Westminster to its core. The public is furious, Parliament is in chaos, and the very foundations of British democracy now tremble under the weight of revelations that could change the course of the nation. This is not just a political scandal, this is a constitutional crisis, and the fallout has only just begun. The Supreme Court's ruling this morning sent an unprecedented jolt through British politics, igniting fury across party lines and leaving ordinary citizens stunned. Documents previously concealed from public view have revealed the extent of Starmer's covert manoeuvring to quietly realign the UK with the European Union, bypassing parliamentary debate, public scrutiny and the very democratic principles the Labour leader had long claimed to uphold. The framework agreement at the centre of this storm, allegedly negotiated by Starmer's inner circle with EU officials, outlined a carefully orchestrated plan to reintroduce UK institutions into EU structures under the guise of economic cooperation. What initially appeared to be a benign trade initiative, upon closer examination, revealed measures capable of overriding UK law, reinstating EU court authority and undermining border control, all without a single vote in Parliament. Legal analysts have described the court's decision as one of the most damning verdicts in modern political history. The justices accused Starmer's team of systematically subverting democratic processes, engaging in what they called constitutional deception and attempting to bypass the will of the people, expressed in the 2016 Brexit referendum. This was not a minor procedural misstep, it was a calculated plan executed in secrecy designed to make the UK gradually indistinguishable from a member state of the EU. Emails, memos and private meeting minutes presented in court trace the plan directly to Starmer's office, illustrating a deliberate strategy of slow, incremental reintegration under the radar. Outside the Supreme Court, the atmosphere was electric and tense. Crowds gathered with placards reading "Defend Brexit" and "No backroom deals," voices rising in outrage at what they saw as a betrayal of the nation's democratic mandate. Citizens across the country are demanding answers. How long had this plan been in motion? Were senior Labour figures complicit? Did the party ever truly accept Brexit? Or was it simply waiting for the right moment to dismantle it piece by piece? The whistleblower who exposed the agreement has been hailed as a hero, yet this act of courage has opened a Pandora's box, revealing an intricate network of secrecy that spans the highest levels of political power. Inside Westminster, the corridors are thick with tension. Labour MPs, many blindsided by the revelations, are privately questioning how they were left in the dark while their leader pursued such a controversial plan. The opposition and Reform UK have seized the moment, amplifying public anger and calling for immediate accountability. Nigel Farage, in a fiery address outside Parliament, warned that the UK was mere days away from being stealthily reintegrated into the EU, declaring that every last traitor involved would be held responsible. Calls for emergency investigations, resignations and public scrutiny are growing louder by the hour, while the Supreme Court's ruling stands as an unambiguous rejection of Starmer's secret strategy as the scandal unfolds. Ordinary citizens are not waiting for politicians to act. Towns, cities and online communities are erupting in anger. Small business owners fear EU regulations creeping back into domestic policy. Farmers and fishermen who fought for independence from EU quotas feel their sacrifices could have been rendered meaningless. Civil servants are quietly leaking information to clarify their positions and expose who truly orchestrated the plan. Constitutional experts warn that the fallout could permanently undermine the credibility of the Labour Party, exposing a willingness to subvert democracy in pursuit of ideological goals. The Supreme Court's intervention has not only stopped this scheme in its tracks, but has also sent a stark message. No political leader has the right to circumvent parliamentary sovereignty under the pretext of international cooperation. Starmer, for his part, has remained largely silent, issuing only a brief statement claiming the ruling misunderstood his policy intentions. But the court's judgment, supported by a mountain of evidence, makes that defence nearly impossible to uphold. The ruling paints a picture of meticulous planning, careful manipulation and a relentless pursuit of reintegration with the EU, all conducted without transparency or public consent. The scale of deception, the audacity of secrecy and the potential consequences have transformed what might have been a political setback into a full-blown constitutional crisis. Across the country, the question on everyone's mind is the same. How deep does this betrayal go and what will it cost the Labour Party in the next election? The shockwaves of the Supreme Court's ruling have rippled far beyond Westminster, igniting a political and public storm that shows no signs of abating. As news of the decision spread, citizens across the United Kingdom took to the streets. Online forums erupted with outrage, and media outlets were forced to dedicate continuous coverage to the unfolding crisis. The revelations of Starmer's secret EU plan have not only shaken public trust in Labour, but have also ignited widespread debate about the very foundations of British democracy. At the heart of the uproar is the extent of the concealment, an intricate plan meticulously designed to bypass parliamentary scrutiny, avoid public scrutiny, and gradually embed the UK into EU structures, all without a single vote or public debate. The leaked framework agreement, coupled with internal memos and private communications, revealed a level of strategic planning that astounded even seasoned political analysts, demonstrating that Starmer's team had intended to execute this plan quietly, deliberately and methodically. Legal scholars have described the Supreme Court's language as unequivocal, noting that the justices made it clear that no government, no matter its political standing, can override parliamentary sovereignty or the expressed will of the people under the guise of economic or diplomatic policy. The judgment detailed how Starmer's inner circle had coordinated with EU officials, crafting a roadmap that appeared on the surface to be a routine economic cooperation agreement, but in reality included measures that would gradually erode UK autonomy. These measures would reinstate EU court authorities, align domestic regulations with EU law, and ultimately create the infrastructure for the UK to rejoin the Union without ever putting it to a public vote. The court emphasised that such a manoeuvre represented a fundamental threat to the principles of democracy, warning that allowing these actions to proceed would set a dangerous precedent that could empower political elites to bypass voters in future constitutional matters. The fallout has been immediate and severe. Inside the Labour Party, trust has fractured almost overnight. Shadow cabinet members and backbench MPs are privately admitting they were unaware of the full scope of the plan, while murmurs of resignations, leadership challenges and internal investigations have begun circulating through the halls of Parliament. One anonymous shadow cabinet member told a leading political journalist, "This isn't just a setback, it's catastrophic. The party's credibility is destroyed and we may never recover. Starmer has handed Reform UK an unprecedented opportunity. Indeed, Nigel Farage and his party have wasted no time capitalising on the chaos, launching a series of public rallies, press statements and digital campaigns designed to expose every individual involved in Starmer's covert operation." Farage has painted the episode as proof that the political establishment cannot be trusted to uphold democratic principles and has called for a nationwide referendum to block any future attempts to reintegrate with the EU without a public vote and overwhelming parliamentary approval. The outrage is not confined to political insiders. Across major cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow and Belfast, thousands of citizens have taken to the streets. Protesters waved union flags, held placards decrying backroom deals and demanded immediate resignations. The anger is visceral, fueled not only by a sense of betrayal but by the realisation that a significant political figure had been plotting in secret to undermine the 2016 Brexit referendum. The reaction has been diverse. Small business owners fear regulatory uncertainty, farmers and fishermen worry about EU quotas returning, and everyday citizens feel their democratic decisions have been devalued. Social media platforms are ablaze with speculation and condemnation, amplifying the public's outrage and keeping the story at the forefront of national consciousness. Meanwhile, whistleblowers within Labour have come forward, corroborating many of the claims revealed by the court. Former policy advisors and staffers have disclosed that repeated warnings about the plan's potential fallout were ignored, and that instructions were given to use encrypted communications, avoid written records, and discuss sensitive matters only in private or even outdoor settings. These revelations underscore the lengths to which Starmer's team went to conceal the plan, and they provide a chilling glimpse into a political culture willing to evade transparency to achieve ideological goals. Experts in digital forensics are now examining the leaked communications and documents, verifying their authenticity and uncovering the methods used to execute the plan without leaving an obvious paper trail. International reactions have also begun to surface. In Brussels, EU officials have remained silent, wary of inflaming public anger further. While in Washington, diplomats are reassessing the UK's political stability ahead of critical trade discussions. Across Europe, populist and nationalist leaders are citing the scandal as evidence that integrationist agendas cannot be trusted, pointing to the UK's near reintegration as a cautionary tale of elite-driven diplomacy overriding public consent. The Supreme Court's ruling, once interpreted domestically as a legal verdict, has rapidly taken on global significance, signalling that attempts to circumvent democratic mandates, even by a major opposition party leader, will face rigorous scrutiny and strong pushback. The combination of domestic fury, political infighting, and international attention has created a volatile environment. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has called for emergency legislative measures, proposing the Sovereignty Protection Act and amendments to the Fixed Term Parliaments Act to prevent similar crises in the future. These moves are designed to reinforce parliamentary oversight, prevent backroom deals, and ensure that any attempt to alter the nation's international commitments receives full transparency and public approval. Early polling indicates overwhelming public support for these measures, with citizens demanding accountability and seeking assurances that no government can secretly compromise UK sovereignty again. Despite mounting pressure, Starmer remains silent, consulting legal counsel. While public anger grows exponentially, protesters have surrounded Labour headquarters, MPs are being heckled in their constituencies, and journalists are pressing for answers from every corner of the political establishment. The question in Westminster is no longer if Starmer will face consequences, but how severe those consequences will be. With trust in Labour eroding daily, internal divisions intensifying, and Reform UK gaining momentum, the situation is quickly spiralling into a full-blown political crisis, and Britain is watching every move as the fallout continues to unfold. As the political earthquake continues to shake the United Kingdom, the scale of the fallout from the Supreme Court's ruling on Starmer's secret EU plan is becoming impossible to ignore. Across Westminster, the corridors of power are thick with tension and suspicion. Staffers whisper behind closed doors, senior MPs convene urgent meetings, and the Labour Party grapples with a credibility crisis unlike anything seen in decades. Starmer's silence has only intensified the storm, with no public statement beyond a brief, pre-recorded message claiming misinterpretation. Speculation has run rampant. Political commentators and journalists are dissecting every leaked memo, every email, and every witness testimony, exposing the meticulous planning behind the covert operation and revealing the lengths to which Starmer's team went to circumvent democratic processes. Every revelation seems to deepen the sense of betrayal among voters, leaving millions questioning whether the Labour leader ever truly accepted the outcome of the 2016 Brexit referendum, or whether he had been patiently engineering a quiet, incremental return to the European Union. In the midst of this political chaos, Reform UK and Nigel Farage have seized the opportunity to dominate the national conversation. Farage, speaking with unrestrained force outside Parliament, has portrayed Starmer's actions as not merely deceitful, but as a direct threat to British sovereignty. He has called for the immediate resignation of Starmer, demanded the formation of a special parliamentary committee to investigate every detail of the back-channel negotiations, and vowed to hold every accomplice accountable. Farage's rhetoric has galvanised supporters, drawing thousands to rallies in cities across the country. In Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow and Belfast, streets have erupted with protest echoing with chants of "Defend democracy" and "No backroom deals." Union flags wave alongside placards accusing politicians of betrayal, and citizens are distributing copies of the leaked court judgment to ensure the public fully understands the gravity of the situation. The energy of these demonstrations is electric, a combination of anger, disbelief and determination to prevent what many see as the erasure of a hard-fought democratic mandate. Meanwhile, Labour's internal turmoil has reached a critical juncture. Shadow cabinet members, once staunch allies of Starmer, are reportedly scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. Whispers of emergency meetings and leadership challenges have surfaced, with backbench MPs quietly discussing plans to remove Starmer before the next election cycle begins. One anonymous Labour MP described the situation as radioactive, admitting that every day Starmer remains in office costs the party tens of thousands of potential votes and deepens public distrust. The internal collapse is not just about leadership, it is about the perception that the party's entire strategy was built on deception, secrecy and an attempt to circumvent the electorate's will. This narrative has been seized upon by political opponents and media commentators alike, framing the scandal as a historic failure of political ethics and a cautionary tale of how quickly trust can erode when transparency is abandoned. The revelations from whistleblowers within Labour have added a new layer of intensity to the unfolding crisis. Former policy advisors and senior staffers have come forward with accounts detailing how repeated warnings about the plan's potential fallout were ignored. They revealed that instructions were issued to avoid paper trails, communicate through encrypted channels, and discuss sensitive matters only in private or even outdoor settings to evade surveillance. These details, now corroborated by digital forensics experts, paint a vivid picture of a team willing to employ near-spy tactics to achieve their objectives. Every new revelation fuels public outrage, and the narrative of deliberate, calculated deception has taken root in the national consciousness. Ordinary citizens are now questioning not just Starmer's leadership, but the integrity of the entire political system, demanding accountability at every level. The international dimension of the scandal is equally significant. EU officials in Brussels have chosen to remain conspicuously silent. recognising that any public endorsement or comment could inflame already heightened tensions. Diplomats in Washington are reassessing the UK's political stability, understanding that unresolved internal conflicts could impact trade negotiations and foreign policy decisions. Across Europe, populist leaders are using the situation as a cautionary tale, highlighting the dangers of political elites circumventing democratic mandates and emphasising the need to safeguard national sovereignty against covert influence. The Supreme Court's judgment, initially a domestic legal decision, has thus taken on global significance, signalling to other nations that attempts to bypass democratic oversight will be rigorously challenged and publicly scrutinised. At home, the pressure on Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is mounting as he navigates the dual responsibilities of maintaining governmental stability while responding to the public's demand for decisive action. The Sovereignty Protection Act and emergency amendments to the Fixed Term Parliaments Act are being fast-tracked, aiming to close loopholes that could allow future administrations to manipulate international agreements without parliamentary approval. Cross-party support is growing rapidly, driven by the realisation that preventing a repeat of Starmer's secret EU plan is essential to restoring public trust. The legislation is being portrayed as a historic effort to reinforce the principles of parliamentary sovereignty and to ensure that no political actor, regardless of office, can secretly undermine the will of the people. Across the country, the reaction is palpable. Citizens are mobilising online, in town halls and on city streets. Small business owners worry about the unpredictability of future EU regulations. Farmers and fishermen fear the return of bureaucratic constraints, and the general public feels betrayed by the covert manipulation of policy that directly impacts their lives. Online social media channels are saturated with calls for accountability, sharing of court documents, and detailed analyses of Starmer's communications and leak strategy. Millions are watching, reading, and discussing every development, creating a feedback loop of outrage and activism that continues to escalate. Starmer's refusal to step down only intensifies the drama. With each passing day, the political and public pressure mounts, and every decision, or lack thereof, becomes a catalyst for further unrest. Protesters have surrounded Labour HQ, MPs are being confronted in their constituencies, and journalists continue to probe the depths of the scandal. The narrative is no longer simply about a secret EU plan. It has transformed into a test of political accountability, the resilience of democratic institutions, and the power of public opinion to hold leaders responsible. Britain is now at a historic crossroads, with the Supreme Court's ruling acting as both a catalyst and a warning. Secrecy, deception, and attempts to undermine democracy will not go unchallenged. The stage is set for an explosive showdown that will define the nation's political landscape for years to come.